Hi, Abba. It is great to see you. And I am happy that we're back here together. To be extremely honest with you, though, I was so tempted this morning to ask you if we can postpone this recording simply because I had a super tough week. I felt like I was constantly running from A to B. I had so many things to do, meetings to attend, live webinars, our first podcast recording then earlier this week, and so many other things. And when I woke up this morning, I thought, oh God, I don't think I have the energy to do another podcast recording, even though I also know that every time we are doing this, it gives me energy simply because I'm enjoying this so much with you. But what I really realized is that unless you would be in this together with me, I would probably not do it at all. And I was just wondering, why is it so extremely important for us to have an accountability partner? Why is it so hard for us to just intrinsically be motivated 24/7 to run and do all of these amazing things that we are planning to do? I don't know. Do you feel the same?
I felt exactly the same this morning, and I was like, I'm not in the mood to do this recording. I am tired. I've also had a tough week, but this podcast is a commitment that we've made, and I love it. And I'm not going to go down on my commitment. And again, if you weren't showing up today, I would probably have not recorded this myself. And I almost wish that for motivation, there was a switch that you could just switch on and then become motivated. But the truth is, there is no such thing. Life happens. We have a million things to do. We are moms, we're wives, we have jobs, we have businesses to run. We have so much going on. It's very easy to lose motivation when you're exhausted. So, accountability is actually a very underrated value to have. And it's actually very hard to stay accountable yourself. And I feel like the only way to self accountability is discipline. It's just discipline, but that's hard.
It is. It really is. I absolutely agree with you. I mean, the irony really is that, especially when we run our own businesses, we do that for a very good reason, right? We have this amazing goal in our minds that we want to reach. And in my opinion, it already needs a certain dedication and ambition to start running your own business in any way. But then once you've got started, it's also to realize how much is connected to this and how many tasks are really involved in this. And it's, at least for me, it's easy to sometimes feel quite overwhelmed because I'm realizing, oh, okay, this is actually a bit more than I thought it would be at the very beginning. And once this feeling of being overwhelmed, or you can even exchange that word with, for example, feeling exhausted, feeling tired, feeling just completely out of energy, it's even harder to then really convince myself to say, okay, I would love to go to my bedroom and take a nap right now. I would just love to take a good book and relax for a little bit. But no, instead, I'm actually sitting down and I am recording this podcast episode, or I am sitting down and I'm doing my accounting, or I am sitting down and I'm sending out another 50 messages on LinkedIn to people I want to connect with. So, really, just making this very conscious decision to put in this extra effort and to go for it, that's the switch, I think, that you were just talking about. That's the switch to bring in a little bit more of intrinsic motivation. But the real question is, where do I find this switch? And how can I rely on it that I can actually always turn it?
And I don't think there is a such thing. Now, for example, I am very heavily into AI and I use it a lot, and I am helping other people use it to save time, energy, money, all of that, right? Work smarter, not harder, all of this. Now, my personal challenge with using AI is that because I know how to do a lot of things really fast, I'm doing a lot more things.
Hmm.
So if say I have a to-do list of 10 things, AI is helping me rather than take 10 hours to do those 10 things, I'm doing those 10 things in say 2 hours. Amazing, right? So rather than just call it a day and be like, I've done my 10 things today in 2 hours, I can actually go for a massage or go for a run or catch up with somebody to refuel so that next day I can have that motivation again.
Hmm.
Because when we don't fill our own cups, right? Which is another reason why we get deflated and it's hard to have motivation. But instead of doing that, because I know I can get so much done very quickly, I'm like, I'm just going to finish tomorrow's to-do list today so that tomorrow I can have a freer day. But then tomorrow I wake up with more things to do. And it's a cycle. So while AI is amazing, I now, because I'm using it so much, need to perhaps even take a step back from that and be like, okay, just because I can do a lot of things really quickly doesn't mean that I need to do that. Because again, it leads to overwhelm and that leads to lack of motivation and it leads to procrastination and all of that, right? So it is a cycle. I think one way to kind of stay motivated is make sure that you are filling your own cup. I think we don't do that enough. We like to run till it's like left empty and then magically want motivation to appear.
That
And
is so true.
no. As moms who also have kids, we spoke about this in a few other episodes, how we don't switch off and we don't fill our cup again.
Yeah, that is very, very true. And I think one other aspect that really feeds into this is that when we look at the work week, we basically know, okay, we have Monday to Friday, which are the days where we can be focused on our work because, the kids are at school and then the kids spend time at their hobbies. And then the weekend comes where we won't have time to work because weekend is reserved for the family. So now for me, when I start on Monday, of course, I feel a little bit more energized than maybe on other days because the weekend, of course, still gives us a little bit of downtime because we can also do relaxed things with the family and it's not constantly running from one thing to the next, ideally. But then comes Tuesday, energy is already a little less. Then comes Wednesday, then comes Thursday. And usually on Thursday mornings, I'm waking up and I'm thinking, okay, only 2 more days to go, which is also crazy because I'm waking up on Thursday and I'm feeling, oh, my energy is actually already down to like, I don't know, let it be 10%, maybe 15%. But then I'm just pushing myself with the awareness of saying it's only 2 more days and you have to make these 2 days count. That's one of the main mantras that I am repeating for myself, which is just, you have this day ahead of you, make it count. Have something at the end of the day that you can be proud of that you've achieved today. But it is a struggle because it's constantly pushing oneself to keep doing, to keep at it, and to not take too many breaks. Of course, we do have to take breaks. As you said, it's so important to refill our own cups. But it's constantly also weighing, okay, am I refilling my own cup now? Or do I want to do something that really counts? Do I want to feel fulfilled in the evening, knowing that equals exhaustion? Or am I actually then saying, all right, no, I'm not going to do this today. I'm going to postpone it to tomorrow. And instead, I'm going to take a break. I think the ultimate truth is that we do have weeks where we do have a balance of both. We can't constantly keep going and constantly push ourselves because ultimately we will really not have any energy left. And that's dangerous. So we need to find windows of opportunity, let's call them that, where we can actually wind down. And since Abba, I'm also talking so much about the brain and available energy for the brain and how important it is to take brain breaks, let's really call them that, where we give our brains the opportunity to also just take a breather and be able to refocus again after a little bit of a break. And the other day I was asking myself, so how can I find a good structure for this? How can I make sure that I am going through my to-do list of the most important things, that I am able to push myself, but that I am also able to take very conscious breaks? I was wondering, and then I started a little Google search, and I was looking into the keyword of accountability partner, because I thought when I have somebody who holds me accountable, even for those small things, that will help me a lot, because as a solopreneur, I don't have that. And then I came across a platform that is called something like Hire Your Own Boss. And I thought, oh, what is that? And I looked into it. And this is basically a software where you can say, all right, this is the job I have. These are the tasks I have. This is what I need to get done by this and that time. And then you have a virtual boss who is holding you accountable to meet your deadlines. You're smiling. Tell me, what are you thinking?
No, I love that. And I think, this is a very smart tool that somebody's come up with because clearly there's a need for it. But it's ironic because obviously we no longer work in 9 to 5 jobs because we want to have our own time flexibility. We want to have our own freedom. Yet we are almost seeking respite in the fact that there's a tool out there that can kind of keep me accountable. And I guess that's why people hire coaches and that's why you work with people so that they can keep you accountable. But, if it works for you, give it a try, why not? I don't know if you'll end up wanting to smash your computer after a while, because my immediate reaction is, although I'm all for these kind of problem-solving tools, I don't know how I'd feel about it, to be honest. Maybe I've had a boss at my back for many years. So maybe for me personally, the name of the tool, if it's Hire My Boss, we'll link it later in the show notes. It would make me a bit averse because I don't want to have a boss. But maybe if it was named something different, like, you know, um, get your accountability partner, get an accountability partner who you can train to keep you accountable. Maybe I would look into that. And talking on accountability, and of course, tools like this and technology is going in this way where it's trying to help us solve problems, right? So if we can find a solution in technology, we should definitely seek it. But I think in our case here, as cliche as this sounds, and everyone says this, and I almost don't like saying it because everyone says it, what keeps you really accountable is the why behind what you're doing. Like, why are you doing what you're doing? And I think for me, I just try to remind myself, why am I doing what I'm doing? Because I want to be somewhere a certain number of years from now. I want to have a certain life a few years from now that enables me to do certain things. So I think stepping back and pulling back to, okay, why am I doing this and why it's important that I need to do this? And if I don't do this consistently and with discipline, irrespective of motivation, because let's face it, discipline beats motivation, and we're experiencing that now. We have the discipline of recording this, which is why we're here, and we have each other to keep us accountable. I know, for example, my why is I want to impact a lot of women. I want to enable them to use AI to change their lives or build businesses around their life. And I also want the time and freedom that comes with running my own business. And I know that if I don't make it work, I will have to go back to 9 to 5.
Mm.
For me, that is not an option. So it's not very positive motivation, but it's definitely motivation. It's like the alternative is not an option. So if I don't want the alternative, why am I doing this? And what do I need to do to move the needle? And again, it's very easy to say this. It's very easy to say, go back to your why, go back to your why, right? But yeah, I don't think there's a switch. Maybe a tool can help in some way. But, and these are the nuances of life, right? Nothing is black or white. Nothing is yes and no. We just need to learn to navigate these things.
Yeah, I agree with you. I absolutely think that it's of utmost importance, really, to understand what's the why. So, exactly, why did we start this at all? Why are we choosing to do this instead of a billion other things that we could do otherwise? And why do we actually get up in the morning thinking that we want to further do what we started, right? We are building this discipline to keep at it, even though there will be many setbacks on the way, especially for entrepreneurship, right? I mean, nobody starts a business and it completely takes off 2 days after. That's not the case. It takes months, it takes years until you can actually see the fruit. You can actually harvest what you've been seeding a long time ago. And it's exactly what you were saying. It's about discipline beats motivation. But I also believe that without having an initial motivation, you won't be able to develop that discipline. If you don't have the motivation to go down a certain road, you won't find the discipline to keep walking and walking and walking down this same road every single day. So, one demands the other. Of course, also my discipline will definitely be easier to grow if I have motivation that's recurring. So one really begets the other. And it ultimately all comes back to the mindset, right? Do we see the value even in the smallest things that we do? Or does it have to be one big outcome we're actually striving for? Because if we see the value in every single step that we take, in every episode that we record, then of course it will have a positive impact on our motivation and it will grow our discipline to keep at it. If we would be starting this podcast, for example, because we say, oh, by the end of the year, we want to become millionaires because of this podcast, then it's probably less likely that we will get up in the morning and we will say, okay, we're going to do this now, even though we haven't seen the results we were looking for. But it's about, every single episode we're launching, the fun we're having while we're recording it, putting it out there, seeing the reactions of people who are listening to it. This is the small parts also that give us all the value and the reason to do it again and again and again.
I think we underestimate exactly this planting of the seeds. And I think no matter what actions we're taking towards whatever goals, we always have to remember that every action is like planting a seed, and a seed doesn't grow overnight. If you are out there today and you are not feeling the motivation you need to be feeling, that's absolutely normal. That's how we're feeling today. So you're not alone, and everyone goes through this. But just go back to your why and why you're doing this and why you chose to do this in the first place. And if you're still feeling stuck, just stop doing what you're doing, go for a walk, move your body. I think that also always helps. Get a good night's sleep and maybe check out the tool, Hire My Boss. Maybe that is something for you. So if you're still feeling stuck and you're finding it hard to get your motivation again, take a minute to think about your why. Move your body, go to your favorite gym class, do something to change your energy. And if your why is strong enough, your motivation will come back. Even if the discipline you need to move your motivation forward just takes you a small step forward, that's okay. So I hope you enjoyed this episode today, and we are all in this together. So thank you for listening, and we will see you next week.
We will for sure. Have a great week.